Welcome to the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. We've got a fast-paced hour of fishing, hunting, and conservation covering the nation and the Northwest, including 13 extra minutes of local content you'll only hear on Seattle's sports radio, KJR.
Welcome to your Labor Day weekend. I am glad that you are here. We've got some great guests for you today. One of them is Brianna Bruce, the owner of Livin' Life Adventures. She's going to give us a wrap-up on the Baker Lake sockeye salmon fishery and tell you about the coho salmon she's going to be targeting in the Skagit and Snohomish rivers this fall. That conversation takes place at the bottom of the hour, but at the end of the show, you'll hear from Bob Loomis again. A lot of those salmon guides are moving up into the Columbia River Gorge. They're going to be looking for those fall Chinook off the mouth of the Deschutes River and the mouth of the Klickitat River, and Bob will tell you exactly how you can catch them just like the guides do this time of year. This portion of the show is brought to you every week by your Puget Sound area Sportsman's Warehouse stores with locations in Puyallup, Federal Way, Sequim, Silverdale, and Everett. They've got the gear you need, not just for fishing, but for hunting as well. And if you haven't been down there to take advantage of the Labor Day sale, well, you better get down there. There's some great deals to be had, but this sale ends at the close of business on Labor Day. September means hunting season is opening up. Now, personally, I'm going to be hitting the sagebrush and the wheat fields looking for mourning dove, and I'm happy to report in Grant County, numbers have definitely increased over the last couple of weeks, but there's lots of other places besides Grant County to hunt mourning dove. You can do well down in Yakima County and in most of southeastern Washington, too. Just look for ag fields, roosting sites, and watering sources, and you'll be in business. Oh, and bring lots of shells. Those little dove, they are hard to hit and they're acrobatic too. Other seasons opening up September 1st include bobcat season, fox season, and raccoon season. I bet you didn't even know some of those were open, did you? But they are. And on September 15th, forest grouse season opens up too. Lots of fun to be had this month, and don't forget, bear season's still open. On the fishing front, I can tell you I was out at Potholes Reservoir a couple times in the past week, and while we didn't catch a ton of fish, definitely caught some good fish. As a matter of fact, on consecutive casts, I got a 3.5 and a 3.8-pound largemouth bass. Can't complain about that at all. The fishing's only going to get better this month, and if you're interested in catching bass or walleye or panfish, well, the place to stay, as always, is Mardon Resort. Check out what they've got to offer at mardonresort.com. Sticking with hunting, the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife has instituted some rule changes to reduce the spread of chronic wasting disease. This after a deer was found with chronic wasting disease in Spokane County. The rule changes include mandatory CWD testing for salvaged deer and elk and any harvested deer, elk, or moose in Game Management Units 124, 127, and 130. In these game units, it is also unlawful to hunt using any type of bait, and you cannot use natural or synthetic scents that contain or are derived from cervid urine or glandular extracts. Finally, you cannot transport any harvested deer, elk, or moose from those game management units, again, 124, 127, and 130 in Northeast Washington, to other areas of Washington State unless the meat has been deboned. Only then can you transport it. You can find out more about these rule changes and about how the agency is going to try to limit the spread of chronic wasting disease by going to the WDFW website. Finally, we've got some creel check reports for you. Buoy 10 last week was fishing quite well. Last Saturday, 248 anglers caught 22 Chinook that they kept and 144 coho. So the silvers, as they say, are definitely in. The coho are also here in Puget Sound. In Marine Area 10, 43 anglers were checked on August 27th, and they had 62 coho. Not bad at all. Marine Area 8-2 was also fishing very well earlier this week at the Everett Ramp. Creel checkers checked 184 anglers who had 248 coho salmon. And they've been doing well out of Marine Area 6 in the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Last weekend, 57 anglers were checked at Port Angeles, and they had 60 coho. And going even further east out of the peninsula to CQ, 105 anglers were checked last week at Mason's Ramp and Docks. They had 117 coho. Suffice it to say, the coho bite is definitely on.
That's your first local shot of the outdoors. Now let's see what's going on across the nation.
It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Kruse.
Welcome to the show and welcome to your Labor Day weekend. Maybe you're listening in the campground today, enjoying that last unofficial summer camping trip, or maybe you're out in the lake doing a little bit of fishing and tuning in, or perhaps you're getting ready to head out to the field and maybe either scout for doves, or if you're tuning in on September 1st, maybe like me, you're going to be going after some dove because the season opens that day in many states around the country. Whatever you're doing, I hope you're having fun, and I hope you're going to enjoy the show today. We've got some great guests for you. In just a minute, we're going to talk to Mitchell Blake. He's with the National Wild Turkey Federation. They are launching a new initiative in the northeastern part of our nation to both help turkeys, their habitat, and preserve our hunting heritage. Hunter numbers are actually pretty low up there, and they're going to try to turn this around. After we talk to Mitchell, we're going to talk to Scott Sthur. Now, when you think of 4-H, you probably think of kids that are raising pigs or cows or maybe chickens or even bunnies, and then taking them to the county fair, where they're judged and in many cases sold. But there's actually a national 4-H shooting sports program for kids from 8 to 18 that operates at both the regional and the national level, and Scott Sthur is the national coordinator for this program. He's going to tell you all about it, and it's a great way to introduce kids to the shooting sports. Right after the bottom of the hour break, you're going to hear from my old friend Bryan Hendricks. He's a longtime outdoors columnist for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. He's written a couple of great stories today, and he's going to share them on the air. One of them is about a canoe trip he took with his grandson and a friend down the Buffalo River earlier this month. And the other is about fishing with a basketball celebrity on the Arkansas River for bass. It's always great to have Bryan on the line because he's a great storyteller. You're going to love hearing from him. Our final guest of the day, that would be Mistaya Johnston. Now, Mistaya and her husband Jake are the new owners of Stehekin Valley Ranch. And you're thinking, where the heck is Stehekin? Well, it's a very remote part of north central Washington. It's located at the end of Lake Chelan. Lake Chelan is a 55-mile long lake. Absolutely beautiful place and great fishing there for kokanee and lake trout. And if you take a plane, or if you hike in off the Pacific Crest Trail, or if you take one of the ferries from the city of Chelan or near Chelan all the way up lake, you'll hit Stehekin. And it's the gateway to North Cascades National Park. And then you'll find Stehekin Valley Ranch. And this place is wonderful. A lot of folks will just relax at the ranch. When I'm up there in September in particular, I like to take advantage of the kayak tours they offer at the mouth of the Stehekin River at Lake Chelan, or do some fishing for kokanee and trout, because the kokanee are all over the river at this time of year. And maybe even take a horseback ride into the Cascade Mountains with Stehekin Outfitters, which operates at the ranch. Well, the community of Stehekin, they dodged a bullet this summer. A big wildfire, the Pioneer Fire, that has burned 39,000 acres, nearly took out the community. Forced the entire community to close in the heart of tourist season, but they are open again in the month of September, and this is a great time to go out there and visit. We'll tell you all about Stehekin and Stehekin Valley Ranch towards the end of our program today. Throw in some news about 2 state records being broken on the same day by 2 fishing buddies in West Virginia, and we've got a great show coming your way. So let's get it started with our first guest of the day. Our next stop is the northeastern part of the United States. That's where the National Wild Turkey Federation is launching their new northeastern initiative called Forests and Flocks to prevent turkey declines and bolster hunting heritage efforts. With us here to tell you more about it is Mitchell Blake. Mitch, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, John. I'm glad to be here.
So you're the district biologist for the northeastern part of the United States. How are our turkey populations doing overall in this part of the country?
Overall, it sort of depends on the state you're in. I know Maine and Vermont and New Hampshire have some stable populations. Other states like New York, even Pennsylvania, depending on how you look at their harvest data, you can see some declines slipping in, Maryland as well. So as you're coming down from the northeast to the mid-Atlantic, specifically in New York, starting in New York, you're going to start seeing some declines in the population.
Well, I have no doubt this initiative is meant to stabilize those populations or bolster them, but tell us what else this Northeast Forests and Flocks Initiative is all about.
So the Forest and Flocks Initiative is a 10-year sort of geographic conservation initiative where it impacts both sides of the NWTF mission, which is the conservation of the wild turkey and preservation of our hunting heritage. It's mainly based on the population trends that we're seeing in wild turkeys, but also looking at the hunting participation by geographic region. New England just does not have the hunting participation that it once had. It's actually one of the lowest, if not the lowest segment in hunting participation in America. So we're trying to get some more hunters up in this area and also get those populations back up where we're used to having them.
Well, not only are hunter numbers declining, but you actually have moves by anti-hunters to literally sabotage fish and game boards. Tell us what recently happened in Vermont.
I can't really speak to Vermont because I only cover the mid-Atlantic, like PA, New York, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey. I do know, like, the Massachusetts bill came up here recently.
And what was that?
House Bill 4885, where it's a gun regulation where it's actually going to make it harder for non-residents to hunt in the state. And there's just a lot of different, like firearm regulations that have come down.
Well, I know in Vermont what happened there is they sought to dismantle the framework of the Fish and Wildlife Board.
Yes. I did hear that, yeah.
Apparently what happened, a recent bill in Vermont sought to dismantle the framework of the Fish and Wildlife Board by including members philosophically opposed to hunting, trapping in the North American model of wildlife conservation. And a similar bill in Pennsylvania sought to reallocate $150 million funded by hunters from the Pennsylvania Game Commission to other uses. And if you're thinking this is limited to the Northeast, it's not. In my home state of Washington State, we actually have a majority of our board members are opposed to hunting and believe in a preservationist model as opposed to the North American model of wildlife conservation, which is not good for hunters at all. So these are some real dangers. The National Wild Turkey Federation, they're doing some work to educate legislators and others to turn back the tide on these bills, aren't they?
Yes. As one of our pillars of this initiative, we're trying to engage in policy issues that are going to impact land management, specifically active land management. That's an issue in the Northeast, but also just folks that are trying to take away the opportunities we have as hunters, for more of that preservation model that you mentioned.
Let's talk a little bit about the conservation piece here. What's the National Wild Turkey Federation doing in the next 10 years when it comes to conservation work?
So we have a lofty goal, John. We're trying to manage 100,000 acres across the geographic region of this Forest and Flocks initiative. It's going to come with a pretty stiff financial need, probably $33 million based on our average cost per acre we're figuring. So it's lofty, but we're going to be focusing on not only nesting habitat and brood rearing habitat, but also that winter forage specifically in the northern portions of this initiative.
What do eastern turkeys eat during the winter months, especially in the Northeast where there's a lot of snow?
Yeah, it's tough to be a turkey. If you don't have a good hard mass that came down in the fall, such as acorns or beech nuts, you're sort of relying on just a little bit of agriculture out there on the landscape. And if you're in the big woods, it can be tough to be a turkey. So we're trying to implement some active management in places and get a diversity of different tree species and structures and age classes. And with that comes a lot of different food opportunities that can sustain turkeys through the winter months.
$30 million. That's a whole lot of banquets. I'm guessing you have to do a little bit more than that to raise this kind of money.
Absolutely. Yes. We have a development team that's on staff that are focused at reaching out to major donors that this habitat and hunting heritage initiative really sort of resonates with those folks. So we'll not only through our banquet system, but we'll be looking for some major gifts.
Well, I know one way to help out is by becoming a member of the National Wild Turkey Federation. What's the website they should go to?
www.nwtf.org.
That's nwtf.org for the National Wild Turkey Federation. They're doing some great work, not just in the northeast part of our country, but all over the United States. Check it out, join today, and get involved. Is there anything else folks should know about this new initiative?
I guess, John, that I would like folks to know is, we're going to be taking some great action shots with videos and photography. Be checking out our social media pages for updates on our Forest and Flocks initiative.
Mitch, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
My pleasure, John. Thanks for having me.
We've been telling you about Sportsman's Cove Lodge in Southeast Alaska for a while now. They're truly Alaska's best lodge. Wildlife is abundant, from bears and deer to eagles and whales, and let's not forget the reason you're here, the fishing. Halibut, salmon, lingcod, rockfish, true cod, and more. It's all waiting for you in abundance at Sportsman's Cove Lodge. Book your trip today at alaskasbestlodge.com. That's alaskasbestlodge.com for Sportsman's Cove Lodge.
Looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook, because we've got it right here. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer an affordable platform to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting host John Kruse through his website at AmericanOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. But hurry, if you wait too long, this big opportunity might just get away. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
Explore the Dalles, the hub where discovery and history come together. Whether the Northwest is your home or you're on an adventure, the Dalles welcomes you. Just 80 miles east of Portland is the perfect year-round escape with a community that cares about you. 300 days of sun, breathtaking outdoor recreation, and a downtown full of the unexpected. Oh, and the rich history that began before the Oregon Trail. Start planning at explorethedalles.com.
I'm Anthony Imperato, president of Henry Repeating Arms. Patriotic Americans are looking to protect and provide for their families now more than ever. Henry has over 200 rifles and shotguns to choose from. Made in America or not made at all. And backed by a lifetime guarantee. Order a free catalog, decals, and a list of Henry dealers in your area. Go to henryusa.com or call 1-800-958-4993. Thank you, and God bless America.
This year, resolve to immerse yourself into the great outdoors. Whether you're learning to hunt, fish, hike, camp, paddle, or grill, or are looking to take yourself to the next level, the place to go for the gear you need is Sportsman's Warehouse. With over 145 stores around the nation, Sportsman's Warehouse is truly America's premier outfitter. Find a store near you or shop online anytime at sportsmans.com. That's sportsmans.com for Sportsman's Warehouse.
Northwest Oregon's Tillamook Coast is not only the place to go for cheese and ice cream, but also for outdoors fun. Hook into a salmon in Tillamook Bay or one of the rivers flowing into it. Harvest tasty clams from our bays and pull up a crab arena or pot full of big Dungeness crab. Visit our parks, walk the beaches, explore our forests, and enjoy our coastal communities. You are going to love it here. Plan your trip today at TillamookCoast.com. That's TillamookCoast.com.
John Kruse here, looking to improve your bottom line as a business that caters to outdoors enthusiasts. You can do so for a very cost-effective price by advertising on America Outdoors Radio. I will tailor a marketing campaign for you, reaching hundreds of thousands of listeners every weekend, tuning into our show on 135 stations in 33 states. We've got a sponsor opening right now, so contact me through my website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com, and let's talk about helping you.
Come to Mardon Resort for some great fishing. Potholes Reservoir has been named as one of the top 10 bass lakes in the western U.S. by Bassmaster Magazine. There's also great fishing for walleye, quality rainbow trout, panfish, catfish, and more. Don't have a boat? Don't worry. If you're staying at the resort, you can fish at the marina or explore the Seep Lake south of the reservoir for good fishing and a beautiful scenic landscape. Plan your trip today by going to MardonResort.com. That's MardonResort.com.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We've got Scott Sthur on the line. He is the coordinator for the National 4-H Shooting Sports Program. It's something I was not familiar with until I read the Hunting Wire this past week, and I was very intrigued and wanted to reach out to Scott to tell all of us more about this. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
So when I think of 4-H, I think of kids that are raising chickens and pigs and cows and sheep and showing them off at the county fair. This is definitely not that, is it?
No, this is shooting sports. So yeah, it's a little bit different than what traditional 4-H is known as.
So 4-H, it's open from what, ages 8 to 18, is that right?
Yep, exactly. We do have Clover kids that are ages 5 to 7 that are in 4-H. Of course, we don't allow that in shooting sports. Shooting sports is ages 8 to 18 or the year you turn 19.
In 4-H clubs, they're generally scattered all over the United States, and generally you find them in counties. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. We've got county programs and regional programs, and yeah, they're all over the United States. In fact, 4-H itself is a worldwide program. Shooting sports here in the United States, we have 48 of the 50 states have 4-H shooting sports programs and are very excited about those opportunities.
Go ahead and walk us through what these shooting sports programs look like, and we'll start off with the younger shooters and work our way up towards the high schoolers.
You bet. So what it looks like is we've got disciplines that include archery, rifle, which includes BB gun, air rifle, and small bore. We have pistol, we have shotgun, we have muzzleloading, hunting skills, and Western heritage. So we cover all the logistics. So a lot of the younger kids first get started with BB gun.
Sure.
And they're going to get started with archery. And that's probably their first taste of 4-H shooting sports is either going to be a BB gun program or an archery program.
How often do these events take place at the county level?
You bet. So county clubs, each state's a little different. So some clubs will run, let's say, the whole spring or do an indoor thing for archery during the winter. And then outdoor would be, once it starts getting into summertime and springtime, they'll start doing some 3D for archery. It's just really going to depend on each club of how much, volunteers they have and the time those volunteers have to give to their program. So they actually may just run as part of a regular 4-H club, a 3 or 4 or 5 week rifle course. And then, during summertime, kids are always busy with their projects and, county fairs and ball and working and everything else. So a lot of clubs stay away from the summer when they do things. But it just really depends on the club and the individual of where they move forward and how they do shooting sports in their communities.
So as the kids get older, they're introduced, I presume, to things like skeet shooting, trap shooting, shooting .22s and other rifles?
Most definitely. So really 4-H, what we do is we do small bore. So it's going to be a .22 rifle or a .22 pistol. But the shotgun kids, the kids that get involved in shotgun, again, different parts of the country are going to do different things. Here in Nebraska, we focus mostly on trap. Where you might have skeet further into the south or sporting clays. But kids do get a taste of all of those different shotgun disciplines. We have a lot of kids that not only will shoot shotgun, but they're involved in a lot of the disciplines. I've got kids in my clubs that do them all. They're shotgun shooters, they're archery shooters, they're rifle shooters, and, involved in the Western Heritage or the Hunting Skills Project. So it's just a great program to get, all these kids involved in seeing different opportunities.
Tell me about the pistol shooting. I actually didn't even think that kids had access to pistols till they were 21 in most states.
Sure. So 4-H is an educational program, and we start out usually with an air pistol program, shooting pellets, and then they can move into, depending on each state, some of them will require youth to be the age 14. They can get into a small bore pistol, a .22 caliber pistol, to meet with all the federal requirements. Like I said, 4-H is an educational program. They have to have all their forms signed off that the parents allow them to shoot those types of firearms. And we just make sure everybody stays safe and has a good time.
Now, I was looking at the National 4-H Shooting Sports Facebook page, and it looks like one of your members actually went to the Olympics competing with pistol. Is that right?
We do. We've got a lot of Olympians that started out as 4-Hers. Over the years, there's a lot of them that give credit to 4-H being some of their first experience in a discipline. So we've had shotgun shooters, some rifle shooters, and this year, definitely the pistol shooters.
And in addition to the local events, it looks like you also have some national events that take place too.
We do. So yeah, we have local events, and there are state programs, and we do have a national 4-H Shooting Sports Championships. It has been held in Grand Island. We've been able to host it here in Grand Island, Nebraska for 14 years now. And so yeah, all the disciplines come together for a week-long competition.
Sounds absolutely fantastic. Tell me more.
Yeah, so what they do is, so you've only get one chance to shoot in any discipline at a national championships, and that's a national 4-H rule. So these kids can come and they qualify within their state, and they come to Grand Island, and they'll participate in all their disciplines. So they'll shoot 3 different games within their discipline. So like shotgun, they'll shoot trap, sporting clays, and skeet. Archery may shoot field, a FIDA, and a 3D course. So they do those over the 3 different days, and then practices. Youth only gets one opportunity to shoot in that discipline. So if you come into shotgun one year, you can't do shotgun again. You're going to have to find another discipline. We've had kids that actually have shot 5 different times at nationals in 5 different disciplines just because of the way their age ended up. But it's pretty exciting. You get to see a lot of these kids every year, and some of these kids come back in different disciplines, and they kind of seek you out, and it's just a really neat, really great opportunity.
Well, this sounds like a wonderful program. And folks, if you want to get involved, check out the National 4-H Shooting Sports Facebook page and get a kid or a grandkid involved with this. What's the website folks should go to?
Yeah, so if you go to 4-H-shootingsports.org, that's our National 4-H Shooting Sports page.
All right, that's 4-H-shootingsports.org, 4-H-shootingsports.org for the National 4-H Shooting Sports Program. As you just heard, some great opportunities for kids to get into the shooting sports, whether it's archery or whether it's rifle or whether it's pistol, and grow up in a great way learning to do these things and hopefully getting them out in the field to become hunters as well. Scott, thanks so much for what you do and for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Planning a day at the range or plinking targets with your friends? Or maybe you're looking to do some small game hunting with a rimfire rifle. Either way, they're going to be impressed when you show up with a Henry Golden Boy lever action rifle. This beauty has a brass light finish, a wooden stock and grip, and a blued 20-inch octagon barrel that makes this rifle handle great, and it is accurate too, especially for offhand shooting. Want to up your Golden Boy rifle game? You can order a deluxe engraved edition or one with a personalized inscription. Better still, the Golden Boy looks good not only in your hands, but on the wall at home too, and like every rifle manufactured by Henry Repeating Arms, this has a lifetime guarantee. Find out more about the world-famous Golden Boy rifle and order a free catalog too at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com for Henry Repeating Arms, made in America and a proud sponsor of America Outdoors Radio. We've been telling you about Sportsman's Cove Lodge in Southeast Alaska for a while now, and there's a reason. They are the only Alaska lodge we talk about on this show. It's because they're truly Alaska's best lodge. The adventure starts with a float plane ride from Ketchikan, after which you'll get the chance to experience some of the best hospitality, food, and wonderful people you'll ever meet. Wildlife is abundant, from bears and deer to eagles and whales, and let's not forget the reason you're here, the fishing. Halibut, salmon, lingcod, rockfish, true cod, and more. It's all waiting for you in abundance at Sportsman's Cove Lodge. Book your trip today at alaskasbestlodge.com and use the promo code RADIO10 to get 10% off.
When you think of Work Sharp knife and tool sharpeners, you probably think of sharpeners for the shop or the field, but Work Sharp has a whole lineup of sharpeners for the kitchen, too. We're talking about everything from easy-to-use manual and electric knife sharpeners to ceramic honing rods, whetstones, and the new rolling knife sharpener, an innovative manual sharpener that will do wonders for your cutlery. Make sure there's never a dull moment in your kitchen. Check out the entire product line and order today at WorkSharpTools.com. That's WorkSharpTools.com.
Ready for more local fishing and hunting? You got it. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio, KJR.
Next up, we got Brianna Bruce on the line. She is the owner of Livin' Life Adventures. She just spent over 45 days at Baker Lake chasing the sockeye salmon there. Bree, welcome back to the show.
Always good to be here, John.
So looking at the runs, pretty good run this year. What is it, some 49,000 fish altogether?
Altogether, yeah.
I understand from Baker Lake that just because the fish are there, they're not always easy to catch. So how was the catching this year?
Right. It was one of the tougher years that we have had up there, even with the numbers. Just everything kind of lined up to make it tough fishing. We had some really hot weather, kind of a really slow run to come in. Like, our numbers weren't bad, but we never really had a big peak. They just kind of consistently came in at some lower numbers, and it made fishing tough, but it was definitely doable. We got fish every day, and you know, those fish are so big and they're bright and beautiful. I don't know that there's a nicer sockeye in Washington State, and definitely not a prettier place to fish.
We're looking at September. I understand you're going to be doing some coho fishing. Where are you going to be doing that?
I will be doing it on the Skagit River in September and the Snohomish in October, as it's opening a little later than normal this year.
What's the run projected to look like on the Skagit?
We're supposed to have really good coho runs all throughout the Puget Sound, and it's even starting out there in the saltwater right now. And the numbers in the rivers are looking great, so I'm looking forward to some really good seasons.
You know, the only time I ever fished for coho salmon on the Skagit, we were using blue fox spinners, but I understand that's kind of old school now, and that most people are twitching jigs. Is that right?
A lot of people have gone to twitching jigs, but my two favorite ways of targeting them on the Skagit is still the blue fox spinner, and also casting and retrieving plugs like the wigglewort. That's super fun and really easy for everyone. We are allowed, because it's a floating lure, you're allowed to leave the treble hooks on them, and you just cast it out and reel it back about as fast as you can, and those fish hit it really hard.
And I know different river systems, different colors. What about the Skagit?
Green is my favorite, either a chartreuse or green, but blues, pinks, and purples work really well also.
And the wiggleworts?
Anything that's kind of that metallic pink, like the Brads, the 92 or the 29, and then the pink and the chartreuse with the 97.
You have openings for these trips?
I do.
The place to go to is livinlifeadventures.com, or go to Brianna's Facebook page. You'll find that at Livin' Life Adventures too, and book a coho salmon trip. It sounds like it's going to be all sorts of fun, and the way you're going to be fishing is going to be all sorts of fun too. Bree, thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We've got my friend Bryan Hendricks on the line. He's the outdoors columnist for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. He is also the author of St. Tom's Cathedral, a must-read book about turkey hunting and more. Bryan, great to have you back on the air.
Always good to talk to you, John Kruse.
So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of your adventures this summer. And I want to start off with a canoe trip you took on the Buffalo River. It sounded both horrific and wonderful at the same time. Tell our listeners about it.
Well, that is the story of Arkansas in the summertime. You know, it has been just very, very, very hot here this summer, and we have high humidity, too, so it makes it worse. You know, the heat index when you're at 98 degrees feels like, much higher than that because of that. But things can happen, where you can get a cold front come in and the next day will just be dreamlike, and it makes you feel good to be alive, where the previous week made you kind of regret being alive. And so my grandson and I, who's 7 years old, and he's taken up fishing recently, and he's very good at it. And an older friend of ours named Ed Kubler, a retired engineer, we took a 3-day overnight, trip on the Buffalo River. What that consists of is 3 days of float fishing, 2 nights of camping out on the gravel bars. And the Buffalo National River, for those that don't know, is America's first national river, created in 1972 by President Nixon. It was the culmination of a very bitter fight of interests that wanted to dam the river and make a reservoir out of it, and those that wanted to preserve it in its, pretty much its free-flowing form. It's one of the last free-flowing streams in Arkansas. So there it remains, managed by the National Park Service, and access is open to it. You can go put in a canoe with all your gear, and you can stay out there as long as you want. And we do that several times a year. So the grandson and I, Aiden, Austin, and Ed Kubler went out, and I got to tell you, John, that first day was horrible. And we were all like, oh, man, I don't know if this was a good idea or not. It was very, very hot, very humid. The river was kind of down, water levels get down, and it was just full of algae that was floating down, made it very hard to fish. and we didn't do very well that day at all. And, couldn't sleep that night because of the heat. It was just humid and nasty. You get inside of a tent, you know what that's like.
Oh, yeah.
It just holds the heat in. So I went outside and just watched meteors all night, and just kind of sat in the camp chair and sort of dozed on and off. Well, like I say, a little front came through that night, and day 2 was just fabulous. It was, in the 80s, and humidity was low, and, just one of those days where you feel good.
Right.
And, I always feel like when you feel good, game and fish feels good too. When you feel terrible, they feel terrible. Fishing is usually not good on days when nobody feels good. On that day, it was fantastic. We caught big fish, smallmouth bass, some Kentucky bass, some long-ear sunfish, things like that. But mainly it was just a good time. It was a good day to be out. Nobody else on the river this time of year. Usually the buffalo is a horde of humanity, and you see kind of a lot of times the very worst that humanity has to offer, but not then. It was, we pretty much had it to ourselves, and it was just fantastic. And then day 3 was the same way. And, good time to be out. The grandson enjoyed it immensely. It's like his second fishing trip, and we just had a great time, and I would recommend anybody that ever wants to come to Arkansas to experience that, not just the buffalo, but all of the other streams that we have in the Ozarks that are as nice or nicer in some ways.
Reading your story about this in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, I really enjoyed the fact that you got your grandson into stargazing. And again, you shared the meteor shower, but you also got to show him what satellites look like, too.
Yes, that was pretty cool. That's one of the things, you can see up there, you're in this, basically in a canyon. So you're just looking straight up, and you've got this view of a gash in the sky, basically, is what it is, And so, you can look up, and that's one of our favorite things to do at dusk is to watch satellites go over when we're out. We have a nice steak dinner, and we just kind of kick back, and you can watch satellites go over, and you can tell, because an aircraft has, a green and a red light, and usually a flashing light, or I guess always. And, you can tell the differences between stars and planets and everything. Well, a satellite goes across, and it just is a constant light that doesn't blink or flash, and it just moves very fast. So we were explained to Aiden what that looks like, and darned if he didn't see the very first one of the night. And it was really cool. And so, we spent the rest of the evening, there's another one, and it amazes you how many of those things are up there,
Oh, no, you're right. And it's funny. When we were kids, there wasn't so much space junk up there. You didn't see a whole lot of satellites. And now you see them all the time. And a little bit off topic, have you seen one of those Starlink satellite launches?
Yes. I had one released just right over my house one night. It's like, I didn't know what it was at first. It was like, this thing just appears. It's like, wow, look at that. And then next thing you know, it spawned. And then they just all went everywhere, and then they were gone. It's like, that was weird. So, I looked it up, and it was a Starlink launch.
Yeah, those Starlink launches, folks, if you haven't seen them, there's something else. Now, I haven't seen the spawning moment, but I've certainly seen them go over where there's 10, 20 of these satellites all together that are going through the sky. And it is something else, that's for darn sure. Let's talk about another column you wrote recently. You got to go fishing with somebody rather famous from Arkansas, didn't you?
Yes, that was last Thursday, and the 1994 Arkansas Razorbacks basketball team won the NCAA national tournament, won the national championship. They were finalists the next year, 95, lost to UCLA, but in 94 they beat Duke. And Duke was at the top of its game at that time, and Arkansas won that in very dramatic fashion. The starting center on that team was a fellow named Corliss Williamson, who was a favorite son here, attended school in Russellville, Arkansas, and then played for the Razorbacks. And his nickname is Big Nasty, and but a really nice guy, And so he's just very highly esteemed here. He played in the NBA for a long time, won the Sixth Man Award a couple of times, and now he's an assistant coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he was here, and somehow we managed to do an impromptu setup to take him fishing on the Arkansas River. And once again, in the summertime, the Arkansas River is not the nicest place to be. It's the fishing is not great. It's really hot. There's no, and we managed to do very well out there. We caught a few. We actually caught quite a good number. And I covered him when he was in high school. This is how far back we all go. Covered him when he was in college, writing sidebars for the visiting teams that played the U of A. And so like I shared with him, Arkansas was so good back then that it was not a good assignment to have to cover the visitors because I was always going into really somber locker rooms and talking to disgruntled and angry players and coaches. And I got a chance to thank him for that. He made my job very difficult back then. But yeah, it was a great time. Just a super nice guy, a very adroit fisherman. And we were with a fellow also named Tyrone Phillips, who's an accomplished tournament fisherman here in Arkansas, especially on the Arkansas River. And we just had a great day. When you get to spend time with somebody like that and very relaxed, I always feel, John, like, everybody's kind of got certain facets of their personality, but I always feel like you see the real person when you're with them outdoors in a fishing boat or a duck blind or a deer stand. I don't know what it is about it, but I just always feel like I see the true essence of that person in that setting. And it was just a really nice time to spend with those two gentlemen and, just enjoy great fellowship and see very fine individuals as they really are.
Well, we got to leave it at that. But, folks, if you want to find out more about both these stories, check out the Arkansas Democrat Gazette and look for the columns by Bryan Hendricks. He writes one every week. He's a great writer. He's a great guy. I've been fishing with Bryan and hope to do so again in the future. Bryan, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you for having me, John Kruse. It's always a pleasure, and I hope to see you again soon sometime.
This portion of the show is brought to you by our friends at WorkSharp. And if you are hunting this fall, you know the importance of a sharp knife. You're going to need it for gutting that animal, butchering that animal, taking the hide off that animal, and there's a good chance you're going to have to sharpen it more than once while you're doing these things in the field. That's why a pocket knife sharpener or the guided field sharpener from WorkSharp are great items to have with you. Whether you're after deer, elk, pronghorn, or bear, a sharp knife helps you get things done after you drop that animal. Look for WorkSharp products at sporting goods stores, hardware stores, and ranch and home stores near you, or online at worksharptools.com. That's worksharptools.com.
Ready to step up to a quality-built rifle or shotgun that's a true classic? Check out Henry Repeating Arms, American-made. There's over 200 models to choose from in a variety of finishes and calibers for hunters and target shooters. Many of these are lever-action models with a look right out of the Old West. Don't be deceived, though. Henry Repeating Arms are modern, rugged, accurate, reliable, and have a lifetime guarantee. Find out more and order a free catalog today at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com.
Let me introduce you to the Camp Chef high-pressure outdoor cooker line. We built this line of cookers with those summer seafood boils in mind. Whether you're looking to boil for a large group or just for the family, there's a high-pressure outdoor cooker built for everyone to enjoy. They come in 4 different sizes, from 30 quarts all the way to 100 quarts. Put that in perspective, that's 15 pounds of crawfish in the 30 quart and 50 pounds of crawfish in the 100 quart. So no matter how large your party is, you'll have the right tool for the job. These all-in-one kits include a high-output burner, a boiling pot, and a basket with a twist drain strainer for ease of use. Each cooker is equipped with an electric push-button ignition and a powerful burner for a faster boil. If you're looking for the right tool to take on your next cookout, the Camp Chef high-pressure outdoor cookers are for you.
Come explore the Dalles in Oregon for outdoors fun. Hike amongst the wildflowers, bike our riverfront trail, or visit the Gorge Discovery Center where you can enjoy a live raptor display, or even check out our National Neon Sign Museum. But don't forget the fishing. We've got salmon, steelhead, bass, walleye, and monster-sized sturgeon waiting just for you. When the day is done, tell those tall tales at one of our wineries, breweries, or restaurants and plan your next adventure. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you could get both, why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare, and that is MediShare. You get both. Many families save $500 a month with MediShare, and that's huge. But it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. That's because MediShare works. It has for more than 30 years. It's a community of Christians who have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth. They love the huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Just call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Next on America Outdoors Radio, we are taking you to one of the most beautiful, remote, and spectacular places in North America. It's called Stehekin, and you can only get there by boat traveling on a 55-mile-long lake called Lake Chelan in north central Washington, which is also the gateway to North Cascades National Park. With us here to tell you more about Stehekin, the pioneer wildfire that nearly destroyed the community, and Stehekin Valley Ranch, is Mistaya Johnston. She is the co-owner of Stehekin Valley Ranch. Mistaya, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell our listeners a little bit about Stehekin. There's like maybe 80 people that live there year-round?
Yeah, correct. Around 80, and there's no road here, so you access us by boat or plane or a hike. We're along the PCT, so we get a lot of PCT hikers.
And PCT, folks, that's the Pacific Crest Trail that goes all the way from the border of Mexico to Canada. As a matter of fact, by the time you get up here, you're closing in towards the Canadian border. Again, remote area, but that's the beauty of it. The National Park Service operates a lodge right at the landing where the ferry is. You've got a fly shop. You've got a bicycle shop. Of course, you've got the bakery, which is like really popular. And then you've got the ranch. And the food at the ranch is so good that a lot of folks will come from the National Park Service landing all the way to the ranch just to enjoy your dinners. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's correct. We take up to 75 people for dinner. So we get a lot of people make reservations and come up.
Let's talk a little bit about the ranch. It's been around for quite some time, hasn't it?
Yes, since 1982. We are off-grid completely, so we run by solar, and then we have a backup diesel generator. We have cabins to stay, and then a cookhouse. So when you stay here, all your meals are included, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We put out in the morning. You can pack a lunch if you want to, so you can be gone hiking all day and come back for dinner, or you can have lunch here.
And folks, it's just an amazing place to go. Again, there's one road from the landing that goes about 11 miles, and then that's it. So you can rent an e-bike from the ranch and go ahead and travel that way, or you can hike, or you can go on a horseback ride. You've got Stehekin Outfitters that's right there on the ranch too, don't you?
Yes, we do, right? Yep, you can just look across our field and see all the horses.
And Stehekin Outfitter, folks, great place to teach your kid how to get on a horse or to go on a ride yourself into the North Cascades. And what's really special about Stehekin Outfitters is their horses. They're Norwegian fjord horses, and I refer to them as both gentle and bomb-proof. They're the perfect guide horse.
That's exactly right. They are wonderful horses. You can't beat them.
Something else we ought to mention is the Pioneer Wildfire. So 39,000 acre fire nearly destroyed the community of Stehekin. Tell our listeners more about this event that happened this summer.
Yeah, so it started on June 8th down the lake away from us, and then it just slowly kept creeping towards us. And then on July 26th, we received a level 2 evacuation notice. Keep in mind, the fire was still a long ways away, but it was because there's only one access via lake. They got really nervous about having locals up here and guests up here. And so our guests all had to be evacuated at that point. And then we just got word this last week that we were back at a level 1. So we finally can allow guests back.
As a matter of fact, at one point they were at a level 3, which means leave now, though most of the residents stayed put to go ahead and defend their buildings and their homes and their cabins. And happy to report, not a single cabin was lost. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, it was wonderful. We're really thankful to be past that. Yeah, nothing was lost. No one was hurt. Everyone's safe.
Well, thank goodness for those wildland firefighters that really put in the work to keep it away from the buildings and away from the community. That's good stuff there. So now the danger is past. You're opening up again on September 5th. Meals and kayak tours start September 6th. We should talk a little bit about those kayak tours. Those are a lot of fun. They're right there at the mouth of the Stehekin River and the lake, aren't they?
Yes, they're amazing. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Can't beat it. You can go down and see the pictographs along the lake, and then you're just at the mouth of the river. There's a lot of birds. It's really pretty.
And speaking of the Stehekin River, folks, bring your fly rod. In September, This is my favorite time of year to fish the Stehekin because a couple things are going on. Number one, Lake Chelan has a booming population of kokanee. That's landlocked sockeye salmon, and they come up the Stehekin River to spawn. And it's almost like being in Alaska, but on a smaller scale. You see all these red landlocked sockeye salmon that are spawning, and behind them are these trout. We're talking about rainbow trout. We're talking about cutthroat trout, up to like 17 inches that are all trying to snatch the eggs. And so if you're fishing a spinner, like an orange spinner, you're going to get both the kokanee and the trout to bite. If you're fishing a fly, you're going to get the trout to bite too. It's a ton of fun. It's a small river. It's really easy to fish. And like I said, the fishing's fantastic. And you know, the Stehekin River, it's not that crowded in terms of anglers, is it?
Well, no, and this is an especially special September because nobody's been fishing it. So
that's
I think it'll be unlike any other.
You are definitely looking to fill up some cabins this month because you basically lost a good month of business, you and all the other businesses in there. So, Mistaya, tell me a little bit about the accommodations at the ranch.
Well, we have our tent cabins. We just have two of them. They're our original cabins that have no power and just beds, and then you come into our cookhouse for our shower rooms and bathrooms, and then we have our ranch cabins. We have 6 of those, and they accommodate anywhere from 2 to 6 people. So they're bigger, and they have electricity and your own bathroom. And then we have what we call the gypsy wagons, and they are just small wagons that accommodate 2 people. They have their own bathroom and electricity and heat, which is kind of nice in September. It's a little chillier in the evening.
What are some other reasons to come to Stehekin in terms of things to see and do?
Well, September is a sought-after month to come visit. We normally are full of basically a year in advance. And so this is sort of a rare opportunity that we have some openings because people canceled because of the fire. And it's usually mild temperatures. So that's it, but still warm enough to be very pleasant. So hiking's wonderful. Fishing is great. Biking. It kind of gets more quiet tourist-wise, I think especially this September, just because a lot of people canceled because they weren't sure what the fire was going to do.
And we should also talk about, you get a waterfall out there, not on the ranch, but between the ranch and the landing. That's definitely worth a visit.
Definitely. Yeah, Rainbow Falls is gorgeous.
All sorts of reasons to come up to Stehekin, folks. Again, this is the gateway into North Cascades National Park. It's basically been not visited by anybody except firefighters for the last month. And it's open starting September 5th through the month of September. Book yourself a cabin. Come on up. Get 3 great meals a day. The food is fantastic. Trust me on this. And go play. You know, enjoy the changing colors of fall. Go hiking. Go ahead and book a horseback ride through Stehekin Outfitters. Rent an e-bike. Check out the waterfalls. Go to the bakery and get some very decadent baked goods. And just enjoy yourself. Again, kayak tours, fishing, hiking. So much to do in September in Stehekin. Check it out. The website to go to is StehekinValleyRanch.com. That's StehekinValleyRanch.com. Anything else folks should know about visiting Stehekin this time of year?
The colors are just changing. It's beautiful. And yeah, we'd love to host you here.
Trust me on this, folks. If you go, you're going to want to go again. I've been several times. It really is one of my favorite places in North America. It's absolutely gorgeous. They have rare openings, so don't miss out on this opportunity. And you're going to be helping out the local businesses, too, which have been closed during the heart of their tourist season. Again, the website to go to is StehekinValleyRanch.com. That's StehekinValleyRanch.com. Mistaya, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you so much, John. It's been my pleasure.
And now it's time for one of my favorite segments.
It's record fish time.
From Outdoor Life, we learned that 2 West Virginia anglers broke the state crappie record twice in one morning. On August 8th, Lindell Marker broke the state's black crappie record while fishing a lake with his friend Dwight Priestley. Marker wouldn't hold that record for long, though, because a little more than an hour later, Priestley pulled out an even bigger crappie out of the lake that replaced Marker's shortly held state record. The West Virginia Department of Natural Resources explained that Marker and Priestley were fishing together on Woodrum Lake when they caught their 2 record-breaking black crappie. The 2 anglers used live minnows for bait, and they were fishing out of Marker's boat. Marker caught his fish around 7:30 a.m. It weighed 2.85 pounds and measured 17.36 inches, which surpassed the standing length record and tied the standing weight record for West Virginia. Priestley then one-upped his fishing buddy around 8:45 a.m. when he landed a black crappie that weighed 3.15 pounds and measured 17.76 inches. Priestley's fish were certified by a West Virginia DNR biologist. Talk about a fun day of fishing for 2 buddies. That's one they're never going to forget.
Congratulations on your new record.
And on that note, it's time to wrap things up for the week. I do hope you have a wonderful Labor Day and that the unofficial end of summer is going out in style and hopefully in the outdoors. As for me, I'm going to be dove hunting this weekend, and I can't wait to get the season started. Here's hoping you have some fun this weekend as well and that you're blessed and healthy in the days ahead. After all, it is your country and you're outdoors, so get out there and enjoy it.
Game-changing. That's the best way to describe the new Scent Flash UV Triangle Flasher from Max Lure Company. This 360-degree rotational inline flasher features a scent release system attracting salmon to the lure behind it like no other flasher on the market. Soak the free scent pad with any type of oil or gel, or load up the cavity with any type of bait for fishing success beyond your wildest dreams. It's the Scent Flash UV Triangle Flasher, only from Max Lure Company.
Don't leave yet. We've got one more local shot of fishing and hunting to wrap up the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio.
You know what time it is? It's time for another extended Max Minute. And once again, we've got Bob Loomis with us from Max Lure. Bob, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, John.
It is September, and you and I both have very fond memories of fishing for Chinook salmon in the Columbia River Gorge during an event called Fish Camp in September, primarily fishing off the mouth of the Deschutes or the Klickitat River. What is a good way to go ahead and catch these fish?
You know, John, one of the things that become quite a mainstay down there is the Scent Flash paddle flasher. It's an 11-inch paddle flasher that can be filled with scent to obviously attract fish, and running behind it, you run a Salmon Tech 3.5 spinner. And that is basically what about 90% of everybody's running down there right now.
Let's talk about colors. I know that makes a difference. Are you using the same colors you're using at Buoy 10?
Yeah. I mean, you know, everything is a little bit different, especially when you're down in the lower river down there. By the time you get down in that area, you don't have the visibility, so you're using high-vis products. You're using high UV products, glow products, things like that. Those same products work very, very well further up the river.
And in terms of scent, I know this is a loaded question. You hate to answer it. When it comes to the gorge, are you using anything different than you are at the mouth of the river?
You know, not really, other than the fact that, you know, down in the lower end, running a Scent Flash triangle flasher with a herring behind it is what I usually start with. And then further up the river you go, I go to the Scent Flash paddle flasher with the 3.5 spinner.
On the spinner, are you putting any bait on it or just letting it go free and letting the scent go ahead and do the work for you?
Let the scent do the work for you. No bait at all.
Well, there you go, folks. If you want to go fishing at the gorge, it's the perfect time to do it. And make sure you stock up on Max Scent Flash paddle flashers and their Salmon Tech spinners and get down there and catch some salmon. Thanks as always, Bob.
Thank you.
That's all for this week, but don't worry. We'll do it all again next Saturday morning from 7 to 8, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio, KJR.